Friday, it is March 27th, Friday morning, about 7:30, looking at the ES 4-minute chart for this morning. I've got the rainbow chart. I'm going to take a look at the timing triggers on the rainbow for today. You can see the ones that happen overnight and then the ones coming up. These are marked by the blue vertical lines. And I've also got some arrows showing here, and that's where I'm going to overlap the pH indicator with the blue vertical lines. And the reason I'm doing that is because there aren't any significant or what may be major indications today on the rainbow chart. So those of you who've followed along this channel for a while understand how we use the white and the bright green timing windows as key indications. The A1 to A6 rows are confirmational indicators for the most part. There are exceptions to that, but our main indication comes from B1 and B2 normally, and at times we'll get the larger B3 windows in there as well. And then the C1 and C2 can come into play, and then the MP1, MP2 master planet. Those we look at more for a trend indication, but they do give some wide windows where the significant weekly highs and lows generally are going to come in there. But looking at what we have for today and even back to yesterday, concentrating on the B1 and B2 row, we only had one major indication on the B2, and that was this white window right here. So when we have the major window, we like to look at the smaller windows inside of that for confirmation. Notice that we had green over white here, and we had a little bit of support up on the A1, A3 at that same point in time, and that's where the overnight high came in. Our significant intraday highs and lows are generally going to come from that B2 window more often than not. Now, going forward the rest of the day, we have these B1 windows. These B1 windows are a more minor indication. They're not as reliable as when we have this wider B2 window, especially when we get the opposite color coming in over the top of it and for support. So generally a combination of green and white is going to be better than just a white-white or a green-green combination. So what we're looking for now going forward, here we had green alone with a green confirmation. That's a little bit weaker. Notice how the market traded right through that particular window. Now the next window was this white window where we had a reversal, and we had a little bit of a confirmation in the A3 row where we had green over white right there in the near vicinity a few minutes out from there. So these windows are still pretty reliable, but they're not as high percentage as if we've got a B1 and B2 in combination. Now we've got another white window coming up here, which I missed marking. So we'll take a look at that guy. So we've got that white window rather over here. So the next potential trigger is coming here at this white window, which is going to be right around 8:12 is about the middle of that window. So about a few minutes either side of that is where that window's operational. So what I want to do to see if we have anything additional, right here we don't really have much confirmation. We got a very thin green window on the A1 panel. So when we don't have anything else to go with this, we could take a look at a pH or the Cosmo or a different time factor. In this case, I'm just going to look at the pH. So what we want to do is when that time window is active, we want to take a look at the pH, particularly pH 1 and pH 2, and see if we had a pivot in that same color combination in the prior happening of that. So we've got dark purple over light purple on pH 1, pH 2. So we go back to the last light purple pH 2 window, that's right there, dark purple over the light purple. We had a very minor pivot there. So we could mark that with the arrow and get a match there. So you can take a look at that as an opportunity. But then what I've done here is I took the areas where we have this confluence of the rainbow and pH 2 I've marked with the arrow. So I was taking a look at where I've got these time windows. So now the next one would be this green window. This green window is open from 8:53 to about 9:22. Notice how we've got white over green support at A1, A2. We've got a white A3 and a white A5. So we've got nice support there. We can also check the pH window to see if we had a pivot in the same pH 1 and pH 2 window at the last event. So this window right here, we've got dark blue over red in pH 2. Going back one to this point right here, dark blue over red was at that pivot high, and I've marked that with the red arrow. So we did have a pivot, so I marked that with the red arrow, and then I put a red arrow here at our expected turn time later this morning, because that is just identifying to me that, yeah, okay, we had this, that pH 1, pH 2 combination gave us a pivot at the last prior event about 2:30 this morning, and now we can expect to get another pivot here around that 9:20 area, and that one's going to be from about 9:16 to 9:24 or so. And then same thing here, we've got another window here, this white window. There's no support, so that's a weaker window there. That window at 11 a.m., roughly a little after 11. Then the next one up, we've got this green over green. So we've got the A5, A6 green over the B1 green. Would like to see some white window in there, but there's not. But we've got a pH confirmation right here, a couple minutes out, or right near the end of the B1 window, which may be the trigger point, and that takes us back to a match at this pivot low here. That's why we've got the green arrow here and the green arrow here. And then we've got the white pivot here at 13:11. Notice we've got overlap here on A3, A4, white over white. And still going to go back, look for a pivot match. We've got light blue over yellow. Here on the pH 1, we go back to light blue over yellow. And we had that little minor low right there. So that's an additional confirmation that that may be a good indication. And then I've marked the last two indications, and we did not have an indication here. This one here is yet to come. This would be in the light purple window, where we have right at the end of the red over light purple. So we'll be looking for this area right here when we get into this window at about 7:54 to 8:02 or 3. If we get a pivot in this window where we have red over light purple around 8 a.m. here, we're going to look for another pivot to form in the white window of the B1, which is where the red over light purple pH 1 is at. So this is how you can use the rainbow and the pH 1 in tandem when we only have the B1 indications, where the indications are weaker than when we have a B1 and a B2 together.